Chapter 6. Betrayed. The lawsuit was a complete surprise to Johann. He didn't have the money to pay Fust back, so he had to turn over his tools, printing presses, and the almost completed Bibles. Fust then asked Peter Schoeffer, who was engaged to his daughter, to be his partner. For many years, people gave the new printing company of Fust and Schoeffer all the credit for producing the Bible, the world's first printed book. History has been kinder to Johann. The first printed book is now called the Gutenberg or 42-line Bible. The Bible was printed from the smaller type Fust asked Johann to make to save space. On each page, there are 2 columns, each with 42 lines of text, hence the name 42-line Bible. In 1455 or 1456, when the Bible was completed, few people realized how important Johann's invention would become. How could Johann himself have guessed that printing from movable type would change the world? At the time, Johann felt betrayed. Not only had he lost control of his invention, he had also lost all hope of making a fortune from it. But Johann did not give up, for he knew more about printing than anyone else in the world. He set up shop in his home and continued to print small books, pamphlets, and calendars. He may have moved away from Mainz for a time. In 1459, another edition of the Bible came on the market in Bamberg, some distance away on the Main River. It was printed from large type and is called the 36-line Bible because each page has 2 columns of 36 lines each. Although Johann never put his name on anything he printed, some historians believe he was responsible for this Bible. It is possible that Johann printed one last book in 1460, the Catholicon, a huge Latin dictionary and encyclopedia. At the end of the text, the anonymous printer boasts that the book was made without help of reed, stylus, or pen, by the wondrous agreement, proportion, and harmony of punches and type. Slowly, word of Johann's invention spread throughout Europe. Not everyone who saw printed books was as pleased as Johann. One famous book collector, the Italian Duke of Urbino, refused to put any printed books in his collection. He preferred the handmade look and feel of manuscript books. Many scribes, too, disliked printed books. Although rubricators, decorators, and binders were still needed to add the finishing touches to printed books, scribes saw their jobs being taken away from them. Others were more enthusiastic about the new books made from movable type. Cities all over Europe wanted printed books, and young men were sent to Mainz to learn the art of printing. By 1470, Johann's invention had spread to 14 cities in Europe. Between 1470 and 1480, more than 100 cities set up printing presses. By the end of the 1400s, printed books could be found throughout Western Europe. More than 9 million books had been printed before the year 1500. People who might never have been able to buy a manuscript book could afford to buy printed books. Johann Gutenberg's invention changed the world. Printing became a cheap and fast way to spread ideas and knowledge, and it brought ideas and the joy of reading to more people than Johann could have dreamed possible. How did Johann react to his success? At first, he didn't feel very successful at all. When enemy troops attacked Mainz in 1462, Hof zum Gutenberg was burned. Fust's printing shop and many other businesses were also set on fire. Quite a few people left town, including many printers who set up shops in other towns and countries. Printing would never again be such an important business in Johann's hometown. Nothing is known about Johann during this period until January 17, 1465, when Archbishop Adolf of Mainz appointed him to his personal staff. This didn't mean that Johann had to work for the archbishop. The appointment was an honor. With it, Johann received a pension for the rest of his life. The archbishop's certificate of appointment read in part, "On account of the conspicuous, welcome, and willing service rendered to us by our beloved and loyal Johann Gutenberg, by special favor, we accept and take him as our servant and court attendant. Each and every year we shall give him to the costume of our gentleman, and 20 molders of corn and 2 fudders of wine, so long as he lives." At last Johann was treated with respect. The archbishop was proud of the precious gift Johann Gutenberg had given to the town of Mainz. Johann lived the last 3 years of his life in comfort and security. He died when he was around 70 years old. The date of his death, like everything else about him, is not known exactly, but is usually given as February 3, 1468. Soon others followed Archbishop Adolf's example and honored Johann. After Johann's death, Peter Schoeffer admitted that, after all, Johann Gutenberg had invented printing. Chroniclers praised Johann's invention. In 1470, a Frenchman summed up the praise in a letter to a friend. "For they say that not far from the city of Mainz there was a certain Johann who bore the surname Gutenberg, who first of all men thought out of the art of printing by which books are made, not written with a reed as former books were made, nor by pen, but by metal letters, and that indeed with speed, elegance, and beauty. Moreover, the illustrious Gutenberg invented letters of such a sort that whatever can be said or thought can immediately be written and copied and handed down to the memory of generations that are to come."